Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back here to the channel Follow Bigfoot, where our channel's motive is to motivate. We want to inspire, to motivate you, to get you out of your house and on a trail and get out there to hike your own hike. I'm Bigfoot, and you're watching the Q&A. We've been doing this Q&A segment for about 2 months now. We are making a slight change to the timing when we're actually going to release the Q&As. Instead of doing it on Tuesdays, we're going to move them back to Thursdays. It just works out a little bit easier for us here at Follow Bigfoot. Now, if you're not familiar with the concept, we are answering as many questions as we can each and every week. We pull all our questions from the comments below that we get on the prior week's Q&A. So if you want your question asked, go below and comment in this video. I will pool all the questions together and try to answer as many as I can on next week's Q&A. Now, if you're not privy to commenting in YouTube videos, that's totally cool. You can email me your question at followbigfoot@yahoo.com, or you can also check out my Instagram page or my Facebook page, both Follow Bigfoot, and comment in the post about my weekly Q&A. Now, before I get started on this week's Q&A, have you had a chance to check and join our Million Step Challenge? Me and Viking from Between the Blazes have started a challenge to get us prepared for the Winter 4-State Challenge that we're doing on the Appalachian Trail this winter. And we just thought that it'd be a great idea to be able to invite others to be able to participate in this Million Step Challenge. Now, for all the nitty-gritty details, check out the link above, and I talk about and cover everything that you possibly need to know about this Million Step Challenge. We've already had about 100 people sign up for this. It's been really exciting, and it's a great way to kick off 2018. So let's go ahead and get started with our first question. What video editing software do you use to make your videos? Up until October, I was actually using iMovie. I was using iMovie on my desktop, but I didn't get a desktop computer for my YouTube channel until January of 2016. So before January of 2016, I was actually just editing all of my videos on my iPhone using the free iMovie app. I use iMovie because it was free, it was relatively simple to figure out, and it works pretty well. It doesn't have all of the features and bells and whistles that some of the marquee YouTube channels will use, but it's got pretty much everything that you need out of the gate. And again, it's nice because it's free. Now with Final Cut Pro, there's a lot of extra bells and whistles that I can do that makes my editing a lot more fun. I'm still learning so much more. I probably only know like 5 or 10% on Final Cut Pro. Now what I don't like about Final Cut Pro is it seems to be really crashy. I can get past that issue, but there are some times that I might have it crash on me a couple different times while I'm editing my movies. You know, there's lots of different editing softwares out there. I'd be curious to know, any of you, which software that you use and why. Right now I'm using Final Cut Pro. I already paid for it, so I'll probably use it for a little while, unless if I just get frustrated with it. But there also could be user error with that too. I might be doing something wrong, I don't know. Did you get unpaid leave to do the AT for 3 months? That's not a regular vacation. So the short answer to your question is no. I actually was paid for it. I got a sabbatical, which I got and accrued over a period of 10 years working for my company. So I got a total, what? Bella wants to say hi. All right, as I was saying, so I got the sabbatical after 10 years of working for the company. I got 8 paid weeks off. And then what I did was I clumped all of my vacation I got for the year with my sabbatical, which made 13 total weeks. And then I was able to get 2 additional weeks off, but they were unpaid. So I had 13 weeks paid off, 2 weeks unpaid off. And obviously, yeah, that's not a regular vacation. I'm very lucky. And it's the reason why I still work for my company, which is McDonald's. I do consultant work for them. Have you ever caught a cold while hiking? How did you deal with it? I've been really lucky, and I have not actually caught a cold that I can recall while I've actually been hiking. Now, this last summer, leading up to my JMT thru hike, I got really sick. I actually lost my voice. If you're watching my videos sometime between August and September, you can tell that it was really difficult for me to speak. I had to scream or yell sometimes just to be able to speak loud enough for my voice to be picked up. So I've had issues with dealing with colds and things like that leading up to my hikes. But I've been really lucky, and I've stayed healthy and sick-free while I've been on my hikes. Now, if I did get a cold or something like that on a hike, what I would do is, number one, I'd probably just keep on hiking depending on how bad it was. If it wasn't getting any better, then I would probably take a 0 or maybe a couple of zeros and really rest just to be able to get my body to recover. It just kind of depends on what kind of cold and what the symptoms were and what I was dealing with. Hey Bigfoot, I recently watched your video about resupplying on the JMT. What are your thoughts on ditching the resupply boxes and just resupplying at the locations along the way, like at the general stores, etc.? I'm from Canada, and to put together all of those packages and send them out, plus the fees you mentioned, makes me think it would be more economical to just resupply as I go. Thanks. Well, this is going to be different for everyone, because one of the major deciding factors on resupplying and how you could answer this question is how many miles that you're going to be covering before you can resupply. For me, I only had to do one resupply that was in the middle. I was only on the trail for 12 or 13 days, and I didn't need to do more than one resupply. Now, I was hiking somewhere between 16 and 20 miles a day. It really depends on how many miles that you're going to be hiking per day. If you're going to be hiking what the average person is doing, which is probably like 10, you're going to need to do more than one resupply. So that really makes a difference. Now, could you just get by with resupplying at the general stores and places like that, etc.? You could. You could, depending on what direction that you're going, and again, how many miles per day that you're hiking, but you could get by with buying stuff and fulfilling it. You just don't have as many choices. If you have a strict diet, it's not going to work. If you start out of Yosemite, there are places like at Tuolumne Meadows store. If you get into Red's Meadow, they have enough where you could resupply out of that. And Red's Meadow had a fantastic hiker box that many people were resupplying right out of. That was more of the PCTers. Now, when you get up to Muir Trail Ranch, they're known to have some of the greatest hiker boxes in the United States. So you could also resupply just right out of the hiker boxes for free. Now, to my knowledge, there's a small store at Muir Trail Ranch, and I don't think that's something that you can actually resupply out of. Now, if you're heading northbound and you want to resupply out of the resupply boxes at Muir Trail Ranch, it's going to be a risk. If there's not a lot of great stuff there, you're just going to have to roll with what you got. The next resupply after that won't be till VVR, which is about another 20 miles or so after Muir Trail Ranch. Now, if you're heading north or south, there are places that you can get off, hike over passes to get into trail towns that you could resupply. If you get to Red's Meadow, there is a service, a shuttle that you can get down to Mammoth Lakes. It's going to be expensive, to my understanding, because it's an expensive town, but you could resupply there. And then your other option is to go over Kearsarge Pass, and you could go down and resupply in a couple of trail towns down there as well. But long story short, it definitely can be done. You're just not going to have as many options out there, and you might just be at the mercy of what's in the hiker box. Now, you'll save a lot of money, though, because you're not going to have to send and pay for the shipping and the cost that the place that you're sending it to will charge you to hold it. Muir Trail Ranch is really expensive, and actually all of them are really expensive, so it really kind of depends. Now, there is one place that you can send it that's not going to cost you any money to hold it, and that's Tuolumne Meadows, because you're sending it to an actual post office. So if you did send it to Tuolumne Meadows, which is going to be at the very beginning or the very end of your journey, it won't cost anything, so that might be something to think about as well. Can you please recommend the best paper maps for a JMT thru hike? Well, the only maps that I used were the Tom Harrison maps. They have a lot of detail. They were great. I think they were definitely effective, but I use Guthook's app about 95% of the time. I only used the Harrison maps for my first couple days, and after that, I just never pulled them out. I just had them more as a backup plan. Now, there were a lot of people that I saw on the trail that use the National Geographic maps, which is an option too. I didn't actually look into those at all. I just went with the Harrison map, but my go-to source of information for navigational purposes was definitely Guthook's app. Do you have stickers that we can buy? At the current moment in time, I don't sell any of the stickers. I do have patches, and I give those away to my patrons. Depending on which reward level that you are pledging at, I will put a link to my Patreon account here above. But I've had requests for stickers. I've also had requests for t-shirts. I just don't know what the demand is out there. If it's something that you guys are really interested in, comment below and let me know. And it might be something that I'll do sooner than later, but it's something that will definitely come down the road. Hi, I know this is a late question, but on my last 9-day backpacking trip, I was trying some new gear and all the rest of the gear that I had was stolen. Has that ever happened to you? And if so, what did you do? I've never had any of my gear stolen. I've always been kind of careful with my gear. Now, typically you can trust your folks that are out there on the trail. When I was on the Appalachian Trail, everybody pretty much watches out and has each other's back. What I did not do and felt comfortable with was just leaving my pack outside of like a grocery store in the middle of a town. I would always bring it in. I never had anybody tell me that I couldn't bring in my pack. There are some places that have a sign that says to not bring your packs in and where to put them. If there was a sign or something like that up, then of course I wouldn't bring my pack in. But outside of that, I always did. When I would be in a grocery store or something like that, I would always just throw it either in my cart or on the very bottom of my cart. No one's ever said anything. I've never had any issues. And my thing kind of was I didn't want to risk my thru hike or having to spend a ton of money replacing stuff or being off the trail for a ton of time in the hands of somebody else if for some reason someone just picked up my pack and ran away with it. So I've been really careful on that. Now, in the event if I did have all my stuff stolen, what would I do? Well, I would obviously have to get off the trail and I would probably go through some of the local hiker boxes just to see what kind of things are out there that I could use temporarily. And I would kind of scrounge up some stuff, go to an outfitter and just try to get some of the essentials. And then I would basically probably just have to scrounge up gear. And some of it means I probably would have to go on Amazon or wherever the cheapest place is to buy some of the stuff and order it and have to sit around town waiting for a few days. Now, another thing that I would do is post something on the Facebook group that is connected with the year that you're doing your thru hike. So 2018 AT thru hikers. Let everyone know what happened. Small chance someone might know what happened, but you might just have someone that's generous enough that maybe is a past thru hiker that will let you borrow their gear and hike with that. Or maybe even someone can donate some things. So you just never know. I would just do whatever it took to try to stay on the trail because it would be a really crummy way to have to end a thru hike. On your JMT, how did you carry your bear canister in your Z-Packs haul? Thanks. On the JMT, I actually didn't use any of the Z-Packs ARC series packs. I actually used a Hyperlight Mountain gear pack. It was something that I wanted to try out because I had never used anything other than Z-Packs since my AT thru hike. So I used the 3400 Windrider and I had no issues with fitting the canister inside of the HMG pack. Now, one thing I did do is I tried to put my bear canister in my older Arc Blast that I bought from Z-Packs back in 2015. It's the pack that I use on the Appalachian Trail and it fit inside the Arc Blast. So I didn't have any issues with it actually fitting inside of it. So I think you'd be totally fine with fitting it inside. As a matter of fact, when I talked to Redbeard at Trail Days, he said that the packs are designed so that you can fit a bear canister in any of their ARC series backpacks. Last question, how did you know how much water to carry for a particular stretch of a hike? Now, I read some of the replies on this post and I know that this particular question is referring to hiking the desert. Now, as a disclaimer, I don't have a ton of experience hiking in desert terrain, but I'll tell you, depending on what kind of conditions that I've hiked in. Typically, when I was on the Appalachian Trail, I was carrying and drinking about 1 liter of water every 4 to 5 miles, depending on what the temperature and how much climbing I was doing. There were many days that I was drinking 1 liter of water every 2.5, 3 miles. So it kind of really depends. The general rule of thumb is that you drink 1 liter of water for every 2 hours of hiking, but you know, it's going to be different for everybody. When it is extremely, extremely hot, when I was doing my FKT attempt this last summer on the Spear Hiking Trail, and it was like 85 and the humidity was like 95%, I was drinking about 1 liter of water every 2 miles. So it really depends. You want to make sure that you're staying hydrated. What you want to do is make sure that you pay attention to the color of your pee. If it's starting to turn yellow, you definitely know that you need to start drinking a lot more fluids. That was always my indication if I needed to up the amount of water that I'm carrying. Now, I always try to drink water, of course, at the source, but I'm one of those guys that can't just pound a whole liter of water. So I typically probably drink about a half a liter of water when I be at a source. Now, it's really important that when you start your hike that you are very hydrated. I always try to drink about a liter of water before I actually started my hike each and every day out on the AT. Well, that's all the time that we have for this week's Q&A. Don't forget, we are changing the Q&A from Tuesdays to Thursdays. And if you have a question, any question, make sure that you put it below. Again, I'll try to answer as many questions each and every week that I can. Now, don't forget to start off 2018 by accepting our Million Step Challenge. Stay tuned for many more sightings, and remember to always follow Bigfoot. And Bella.